أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. We're talking about the issue of polygamy in Islam. Unfortunately, those people who are not very familiar with the teachings of Islam and they have not understood them properly, then they criticize and they object these types of teachings of Islam. But if they come and study and ask those who know and study the very authentic references of the teachings of Islam, and also if they are fair, then they will acknowledge and they will agree that these divine laws are for the prosperity of mankind, for the prosperity of the society and community. The issue of polygamy is in fact to prevent the distribution of prostitution, to a spreading of prostitution. Islam does not want women to be prostitute. A woman who does not have a husband and she has of course sexual desires and she has to satisfy it. Islam says that she must satisfy it in a very chaste way, lawful way, and that is the issue of marriage. If there are not enough men, for example, in a community for any single woman, a single man, then here Islam says that some very qualified men are allowed to remarry and to have more than one wife. If you want the reference of this, the issue of polygamy, it is in chapter 4, verse 3 of the Holy Quran. It says, وَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ أَلَّا تُقْسِطُوا فِي الْيَتَامَى فَانْكِحُوا مَا طَابَ لَكُم مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ مَثْنَى وَثُلَاثَ وَرُبَاعَ فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ أَلَّا تَعْدِلُوا فَوَاحِدَةً. And if as a guardian you fear that you may not be able to deal with the orphans justly, then marry other women of your choice, 2 or 3 or 4. But if you fear that you may not be able to deal justly, this is very important, this phrase of the verse. If you fear that you may not be able to deal justly with them, then only marry one free woman. The verse is emphasizing that you are allowed, but you should be just. Justice means that if you have 2 wives, for example, you are preparing for them shelter, a house, whatever you are doing for the first wife, you must do it for the second wife. As far as the shelter is concerned, as far as the clothing, as far as the ornament and other expenses of the life, you yourself also, part of your time must be with one wife and part of your time with the another wife. You should be just. Justice is very important. And many people do not have this ability to be just. They are not very qualified. Islam does not allow. Islam says, فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ. Even if you fear, if you are sure, surely you will not. If you are sure that you are not just, you mustn't marry more than one wife. Islam does not say that if you are sure. It says, فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ. Even if you fear that you may not be just towards these 2 women, then you must satisfy with one wife. So you see that Islam says that these extra women in the community, that because of any reason who have lost their husbands, instead of going to the streets to be prostitute and to spread corruption among the community and to loosen the foundation of families and to spread a virus among the people and a lot of diseases like HIV and other diseases, Islam says that let's allow a man who is capable, who is just, to remarry and to take care of the second wife. And when he marries the second wife must be treated like the first wife. Whatever you are doing for the first, you must do it for the second. This is a very, I can say that, very interesting and exciting laws of Islam, that if we understand it properly, then we will admire Islam, not to criticize it. Here, the issue of justice, some of the people refer to another verse of the very chapter 4, verse 129, because in that verse it says, وَلَن تَسْتَطِيعُوا أَن تَعْدِلُوا بَيْنَ النِّسَاءِ وَلَوْ حَرَصْتُمْ. You will never be able to regard perfect justice. Perfect justice. You will not be able to do it. Then they have concluded that, okay, since justice is not possible according to the verse, it means that only one wife. No, this justice in verse 129 means that if you, it's the matter of heart. It's the matter of love. You can't measure it. You can't prescribe for a man to love two persons exactly equally and at the same amount of love. This is not possible, of course. When it is not possible, then Islam says that if you don't love them equally, at least the end of the verse says that you mustn't disregard one of the women, one of your wives, and to isolate her completely. When in verse 3 it is talking about justice, it means that justice in what is possible, like preparing accommodation, preparing clothing, and other things that it is possible for a man to do it. But justice in loving, that is not a matter to measure it or to command all men to be equal towards the wives. Anyway, what we are trying to say at the end of this topic is that the issue of polygamy in Islam, if it is grasped and understood properly, then even the thinkers and the scholars of Western countries who are not Muslim, they will agree and acknowledge that this is a good solution of Islam. Instead of prostitution, instead of depriving a woman to the end of her life to be single. From that angle also we should look at the matter. Therefore, we want to say that Islam allows the issue of polygamy only up to 4, not more than that. Secondly, the man who is remarrying must be very just towards his wives. Thirdly, as we said, this is because of a lot of social philosophies and logics behind it. I think it's enough. We don't have enough time to go to the details of these issues. We advise our brothers to do more researches themselves. We'll continue with another topic, inshallah. Until then, thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.